Yeah, what are we going to do for these guys and gals, these cats tonight? Let's do a little finger thing, a little music theory, and maybe a breathing deal, all wrapped in one. Yeah, kind of a warm-up in a way. Well, I don't know how that's going to come out, but I think it's pretty decent. Are you aware of what I just did there? Cats, guys, gals, you're not aware of what I just did? Okay. I just went through all 12 major scales on trumpet in about 10 seconds. Not a big deal, you think? Yeah. Maybe you can give it a try and see what happens. It's all the 12 major scales, done quickly, no time to think, no break, all in one breath, all the way up to high C. Did anybody catch what I did on the high C? You didn't, huh? Vibrato on high notes. Most of you can't hit the high C's like that, right? Raise your hand. Okay, thanks for being honest. And it's just the 1/10 of 1% of the pro population that could add a nice vibrato on that. So anyway, you go back and watch that again, exactly what I did. How many of you can do that? Put your hands down. I know that you can't, you're in 9th grade. I'm looking at everybody here. How many can actually do what I just did? How many thought that I practiced it for days and days before I made this video? All the hands went up. Like I've told you in previous videos, I rarely ever practice anything that I do off the cuff like this. And further, I've already told you that most of the times I don't even warm up right before I get on here. I'm doing something else. That was the case today. Oh wait, there's one person in the back. He just kind of came in late. He raised his hand and said he could, oh, that's Alan Bizzuti. Yeah, of course you can do what I just did, and probably even a lot faster. But everybody else in the room could not do it. And that means you should be getting the Herbert L. Clark course that I have. It's a 90-day digital video download course. That's pretty much where I got my fast finger technique, Herbert L. Clark. A little bit of the Arban's, kind of not. But it's the Clark. The Clark will kick your butt. And if you don't do it the right way, at least the way I do it, then that butt kicking is going to go on for a long, long time. Kurt, I thought you were going to make a thank you video and a shout out to all the people who have been backing your project. What in the world are you talking about? Oh, okay. Yeah. Obviously you could see that things have gone terribly wrong because I'm talking to myself. And that's never good, right? So here we are today. It is December the 23rd, 2020. And we crossed over the 50% threshold late last night. In fact, today with my thank you and shout out, I'm going to do everybody. So some of you, this will be your second shout out that I'm going to give you. But I'm going to start off with the person that flipped us over into 50%, which I already told you I believe is critical. It gives us some momentum. And I'm going to tell you one other reason why it's critical. Because, you know, I'm not a professional fundraiser. This is my very first fundraiser of all time. And I don't have a team. If you research fundraising, they say make sure you have a team working for you. It's just me, myself, and I. There's no team here. So, okay, I did some research. Why is this critical? Because, you know, I'm finding out more and more about these big money grants. You know, you've heard me talk about that in some other videos or writings. 50,000 grant to 10,000 grant to 100,000 grant. What they want to see is the nonprofit that they're thinking of giving money to actually doing something and a service that the public wants. How can they ascertain that? By the fundraising they've already done. and the interest that was shown. So this is why it's very critical with this fundraising campaign I have going on right now with you guys and everybody. It's not just critical to get to a certain dollar amount. It actually proves and shows to the people I will be applying for grants that, hey, there's a lot of people that's kind of digging what's going on here with this nonprofit and what Kurt Thompson is trying to get started. Yeah, I think we probably could give them a little bit of money to help this along. That's what they're going to be thinking. They don't just give out $10,000 checks to a nonprofit for no reason at all and for no interest by the public at all. Okay, so that's very important that you understand that. The story, I think the story of this has kind of gotten lost because I'm sending out emails to quite a lot of people, and some people respond, but it seems like it's falling on deaf ears. Like, I think they forgot what the story is. The story is this: live music is in a horrible spot, kind of like the toilet. Not because of COVID, no. It's worse because of COVID, but before COVID. And if you go to my campaign, you'll see that I just put up a small amount of symphonies closing, orchestras closing, live music gone. Who replaced it all? The almighty DJ. That's the person that just sits up there and screws around and puts on a laser light show. If you've ever been to something recent, yeah, they have lights flickering all over the venue and they're pumping house music and they're messing around with it. So that's the one person that replaced like an 18-piece big band, for example. So that's not good. It's not good for the public. It's not good for the future. So yeah, COVID has made everything 10 times worse. But the stuff I put in the original fundraising video happened before COVID, even several years. So don't forget the story here. The storyline is this: that you just can't go out, even in 2019 or before, and watch a great group just get down on this instrument. If you do, you're left with two choices now, which aren't really that good for the majority of people: jazz or classical, like the symphony. Now, I go to both of those infrequently, but I still can go and I can appreciate what they're doing. I can't play like Clark Terry or Harry James or Roy Eldridge or a lot of these cats. Clifford Brown comes to mind. Von Nark is a very, very great, not only lead trumpet player, but he can really get down with some jazz too. I can't quite play like that. I haven't really put myself to the test to really work on it that much. But I know what they're doing. So when I go to jazz and I can hear them do some fantastic lick and then boom, get the chord change right there, I'm impressed, okay? The regular person, are you with me on this? They don't get it. In fact, there was a funny little quote that I saved from The Office. Remember the series Office, where she's talking with I can't remember their names, but she's crying and she says something like jazz is stupid, and the reason is because it is an acquired taste. It takes some time to get used to and to figure out what's going on. So we have jazz, and the majority of the people aren't going to get it. That's why they don't go back. Then you got the classical symphony orchestra. The majority of the people kind of get that to some degree because you can hear some of those songs that were kind of bastardized and put into commercials, bum, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-bum, or things like that that have been popularized and they kind of destroy the original content. But anyway, so some people will recognize it, but you got to get dressed up usually. You got to be stiff. You got to sit still and be quiet for hours at a time. And, just most people are not digging that. And a lot of younger people, the younger generation, get bored easily. They're the entitled generation, so they're going to get bored. So those were the two alternatives that were left right before COVID. They weren't doing too well, folks. We're not going to keep it going with just the jazz band and the symphony orchestra. Groups like Mnozil Brass have been lighting the way and lighting things on fire. And that's what Trumpet Champions is going to do. Not maybe, will do. Because it's already proven the general population is hungry for something that's fun, that's exciting. And in this particular case, they're going to get a very good education on this instrument. But they're going to dig it because we're going to we're going to put this in the context of some of the greatest pieces that were played and made popular in the 20th century. So we're really going to turn on a lot of the general public to this instrument. And no, not a recorded trumpet, but the real deal, real acoustical instruments right in your face. That's the story behind it. That's the story behind Trumpet Champions Inc. That's the story behind doing this fundraiser. It has to have funding. I've already been a band leader and backed a band more than 10 years ago that failed mainly due to funding. We had to depend on the greedy venue owners. They're only looking at dollar signs when they see a group come in. That's it. They don't want to give anybody a chance if you're not proven. So, I mean, funding kind of failed the last effort that I made. That's why it's critical to get your support and help right now. 50%. Okay? Okay, let me give a shout out here. I'm doing this all uncut, off the cuff. And I should have been a PhD, right? Because I know how to get into a lecture hall and just talk and go way off subject. But the subjects that I brought up today, before we get to the thank you and the shout out, I believe was important. I mean, I think some of you have kind of lost track of what the story is here. Story is the live music. This is a recap. Live music, not too good. Now, we're talking about Justin Bieber, Rihanna, and all the rap stuff. Yeah, that stuff's doing good because that's popular stuff mainly for teenagers. And but I mean, we're not talking about that. We're talking about cultural arts, music. You know, the good stuff. And so that's not doing too well for the last 20, 30 years. And we can fix it. Only if we don't fix it, you got jazz, usually some small jazz ensemble that most of the general population can't relate to, can't figure it out. It just sounds like noise to them. Or you got the symphony, where people have to sit still for a couple hours at a shot. That's as long as they're not watching Wagner. Hello. Maybe you got to sit still for 18 hours when you watch some of the ring cycle and all that business. But we're talking about two genres that and sectors of cultural music that a lot of people just aren't digging. They will dig Trumpet Champions. I can guarantee it. We're going to put some fun stuff up there that they're really going to like a lot. Okay, now to the shout out. Let me get I'm doing this all uncut. I think I'll go back and watch it, but I believe we can make it all uncut. And it's the holidays, so what else are you guys doing? I mean, if you quit watching this, what are you going to do? You're going to go back to watching Netflix. I've been watching Hulu lately. If you want to see a movie that will jolt your brain and make you come unhinged. Actually, now I just thought of another movie. Russell Crowe in Unhinged. You're going to have to pay for that, but man, that was good. That was really, really good. And then the one that's even more titillating and more of an adventure and shocking is Bone Tomahawk. Bone, like your bone, B-O-N-E, Bone Tomahawk, like an Indian would throw at you. Bone Tomahawk. I guarantee you watch those two movies tonight, you won't go to sleep. That's how good they are. I'm kind of an expert on some of this stuff that's really good and some of the stuff that's Hollywood. I can't really stand to watch a lot of Hollywood stuff lately because it's so predictable. If I can predict what's going to happen every minute in the movie, I really don't want to watch it. But you give me some feedback. You watch Bone Tomahawk uninterrupted, and you might have trouble sleeping. It's horrendous, horrific, but an awesome, awesome movie. It really is that good. And it starts off like a Western. So if you don't like Westerns, you might think, what in the heck is Kurt doing here? Giving us an opinion on how great this Western. It's not really it's set like a Western, but it's not really about a Western. So that's all I'm going to say. Yes, it's back kind of in the Old West, but it's a new movie in 2018, maybe 2019. But trust me, it's not your typical Western movie. It's going to throw you right back off your feet. And then Unhinged is a new movie with Russell Crowe, and he was really good in that. Loved it. Okay, shout outs. Let's see here. Let me get to the last person. This person last night was the person that flipped us over from 49% to 50%. And that happened on the 22nd. And so I have to start with him. because that was what put us over the top. We're at 50%, and as I've already mentioned a million times, I feel that's a critical point. We got good momentum now. Let's keep it going. So, and I'm not saying last names or driver's license or anything like that, because I didn't get permission from any one of you, if you're watching me give a shout out, to do this. So I'm just going to use your first name. So here we go. I want to give a special thank you to the man that flipped us over from 49% to 50% last night, probably after getting one of my emails, and that's TJ. Thank you, TJ, for helping us out. I know you sent an email. I've just been too busy. Too busy is not even really the right thing to say. I had no opportunity to sit down. I got my laptop out, and I'm doing this. I still don't have time to check all my emails. So anyway, I hope I'll get back to you. But thank you, TJ. I will respond to your email. But I really appreciate you putting us over the top to get to 50%. Thank you, TJ. Now I'm going to quickly go down the list all the way back to some of the original people that were the first contributors. I'm going to do it quickly. Paul. Thank you, Paul. And Paul, now if you watched the last shout out, Paul had made several contributions. He's even made several more. Paul has really given a substantial amount. In fact, I'm going to make Paul an honorary recipient of the invite to the rehearsal. If you go and look at the perks, there's I believe it's $500 or $700 where you can come in and watch our first rehearsal with us in real time. So Paul gets that. I've already sent him an email. He gets that opportunity if he wants. He doesn't live in Texas, but if he wanted to come down and be with us on our first rehearsal when we all get together, Paul, you're welcome to do so. And I already sent you an email about it. Or if you can't make it here and you want to just get some recording snippets of it, we'll do that too. So either way, you're going to get something special. Okay, Paul? Thank you, Paul. Thank you very much. Paul has given a lot. He's going to be one of the reasons that we're really going to get liftoff here. So thank you, Paul. Roberto. Okay. Oliver. Thank you, Roberto. Thank you, Oliver. Appreciate it. And Anthony. Anthony got the sizzle pipe. I just sent it out to him. Thank you, Anthony. I hope you enjoy that. And by the way, hit me up. I have a tutorial. Okay. I actually had to restart the camera. I finished the video, and guess what? When I went back, the camera had cut off. Cut off about 5 or 6 minutes of the last people that were going through. So I'm trying to make this all uncut, but when I went back, the camera had shut off. Do not know why. So let me continue. I just mentioned Anthony. So Anthony, thank you so much. Sent you the sizzle pipe. Hit me up. There is a tutorial that comes with it that I'll give you on the house. Jean-Luc. So thank you so much, Jean-Luc. Jean-Luc is out of country, out of U.S., and Jean-Luc has contributed quite a lot, so I have to give a special thanks to him. He's contributed many, many hundreds of dollars. Thank you, Jean-Luc. Jack. Thank you, Jack, so much. Jack has also contributed a decent amount, and I really appreciate it, Jack. Thank you, Jack. Greg. Thank you, Greg. I appreciate your contribution, and also a decent amount. Thank you, Greg. Francesco has also given many, many hundreds of dollars, and I believe, well, I'm not going to say where you live, but it's definitely not in the U.S. So thank you, Francesco, if I'm saying that properly, for your extra efforts and your extra contributions. I appreciate it. Henning, thank you, Henning. Henning's a former student, and I really appreciate you chipping in here, Henning. Thank you. And you may have heard this name from the last shout out I gave, but I've got another contribution from Cutler, if I'm saying that properly. So thank you again for yet another contribution, Cutler. I appreciate it. Also not in the United States. Rob, thank you so much, Rob. I've known Rob off and on for many years, and Rob and his wife have chipped in for various things throughout the years, and now he chipped in again. Thank you so much, Rob. Merry Christmas. Here's initials. I don't have a first or last name, and I won't give out the last name, so I'll just say the first two initials, RL. Thank you, RL, for your contribution. And let's see what else here. Okay. Carrie. Carrie is a former student, accomplished professional, and at one point, many years ago, he was running his own band. I'd have to catch up with him and see if he still is. But I want to say thank you, Carrie. Your contribution helps, and it does have an impact. Thank you, Carrie. And let's see here. I'm trying not to mention, repeat people over and over again that have made several contributions. So this Randy. Thank you, Randy. Randy is a former student, and you probably heard me mention him in the last shout out. So thanks again, Randy. Marcus, a former student, not in the U.S., but thank you for being a part of this, Marcus. I certainly appreciate it. Dan is also a former student, and I really appreciate it, Dan. You are familiar with that name from the first shout out, so they're just doing kind of a second shout out to some of these folks that got in at the beginning. Thanks, Dan. Kevin. And so I have to say special thanks to Kevin because he's given several contributions and that's making an impact. Thank you, Kevin. Kevin's also a former student. And so I really appreciate your extra effort here, Kevin. Thank you. And that's the Kevin that you probably heard from the first shout out from the other video. Gerald, the same thing. Gerald's a former student, accomplished professional. And you heard that name in the last video. So this is just another shout out for you, Gerald. Thank you so much. And let's see, Stefan or Steven. And Stefan or Steven is not in the U.S. So here's another individual that doesn't know me, like some of my former students, and not even in Texas or the U.S. and has given a decent amount. So way more than $100. So I really appreciate it. Stefan or Steven, please forgive me if I'm not pronouncing your name exactly correctly. And let's see here. We're getting down to the end here. Let me flip over. We got to go to the next page because these are the original people that got the ball going here. So let's see. Lee. Thank you, Lee. Work with Lee, former student, and I appreciate it, Lee. Thanks for chipping in, and you may have recognized that name because I shouted it out to him on the first video. Thanks, Lee. And How. Thank you, How. And Vic. Thank you, Vic. And let's see here. Lou. Thank you, Lou. And we are all the way back to November 27th. The person who pulled the trigger when nobody else had, when we were at zero, and he gave the first amount that was very close to $100. So I want to give a special thank you to Terry. Thank you, Terry. He was our first contributor just about a month ago when it was zero. He took a chance. And I really appreciate Terry. In fact, Terry just finished up the 16-week course with me, met with me every Wednesday for 16 weeks. He graduated last Wednesday. He works for the government, and so he told me, and he has a security clearance and some other stuff. And as a result, he's not on Facebook or Twitter or any of those, and he's trying to maintain a low profile. He did give me a really good email review, but said that he wouldn't feel comfortable giving out his last name or doing a video review just because of the nature of his job with the government. So, but Terry has turned into a great player. He already was a good player, very smart individual, and he told me that someday he's going to start his own band, kind of with the idea of doing mainly jazz. So, but anyway, Terry just finished up my live course with me last Wednesday, and I want to say a special thank you to him. I've already sent him an email, and he was the first. Terry is the first individual from a month ago that took a chance, pulled the trigger. He's our first contributor. So that's it, folks. Most of this is unscripted except for the camera went kaput, and hopefully it's still rolling. Let me just see if it's still rolling. Is it still rolling? It's still rolling. Okay, so now you see the backdrop here. While I'm here, let's just look at this. See? That backdrop? Beautiful, huh? Like a cathedral or inside of a palace. That's actually one of the perks. It's big. This is the big room that I'm in. And look at that. It goes all the way down there. It makes a very nice backdrop if you just want to change up the scenery in your room. And I like recording with it. But it's on as a perk. You can actually get it. I'll roll it up and I'll send it to you. You buy it as a perk. It's a donation to Trumpet Champions, and that can be yours. It's really nice. It is not cloth. This is vinyl. So it's not cloth. This is vinyl. So it's a more vibrant color. That's going to last. You don't got to bait it. Just wash it a little bit from time to time. So hey, Kurt Thompson here, and tried to make this as uncut as I could, except for when the camera went off. I guess that'll be the only cut that you see. I didn't even go back to see how the playing was. The horn's cold now. I always like to see if a cold horn still has any high notes in it. Let's see. That hurt a little bit because the horn was cold, but I still got on a double C, baby. Boom! The horn is very cold. Yeah, it is cold. And anyway, this is all unscripted. I want you to see what's happening on this end. So, I'm Kurt Thompson. I've been working hard for you and for this group. I've dedicated probably the last month and a half since maybe the middle of November until now. I've done nothing but just work on this, except for my Jesus Christ Superstar, the Bud Brisboy. That is done. It's mastered, and I'm going to put up a little snippet of that. The video is not done, but the music is. I think you're really going to dig it, and I'll probably do that this weekend maybe. Anyway, Merry Christmas to everybody. It's the 23rd. Christmas is coming up very, very quick. And if you see this, you get it. If you understand the story of what we're trying to do here, what's trying to be accomplished, we could use your help. We're only halfway. We got to make it all the way to 7,500, and we only have like 8 days left. So Merry Christmas. Please help. I'm glad you get the story of what we're trying to do, and I'll see you in the next one. And it's still going. Yay.